PickDogs.com here with Steve Monahan. It is NFL Sunday. We had no NFL preview show this week, so we got fresh material. So nothing wrong with some fresh material. Of course, we've got free picks on every game every day at PickDogs.com. I got tons of video picks out there. When I do my NFL video picks, I actually confess, well, you guys know this. I do them like 5-6 days in advance. I'll lock and change between now and then. Basically, those videos in NFL and college football are first impression. College basketball and NBA basketball, a little different story because those are like right on top of the game. You know, usually the night before, or in college basketball when it's tournaments like it's been this week, I do them the morning of. I added 4 new videos just this morning to our college basketball. So we're bombing YouTube. Steve, how was yesterday's college football action? How'd that treat you?
I thought I did pretty well yesterday. I was all in on Ohio State.
I was on the wrong side of that one.
Yeah, but, again, I don't know what to say about Coach Harbaugh and what's going to happen in Michigan, being 0-5 now and 2 real beatdowns in the last 2 years. But I think we all had Auburn yesterday, and that was a wild back and forth affair. We took Auburn and we looked good there. So you can count Alabama out of the top 4 going there. Notre Dame, I think we both loved yesterday. So
the garbage touchdown for the cover. We'll take it. I hate being on the wrong end.
I'll take it any day of the week.
I was on the wrong end of the garbage touchdown in Arizona State. Wrong end of it, and then they take a knee at the 5-yard line to end the game. I'm usually on the right side when they do that, but it just didn't work out for me in that one.
And Clemson, Georgia were the other ones that we thought would fall.
Clemson just a whitewashing. So speaking of Clemson, Dabo Swinney pretty vocal this morning and last night about the committee's treatment of Clemson. They asked him about the South Carolina game, and he said, this is the team that beat Georgia, and you make every excuse to put them in the playoff. We've won our last 10 games by 31 points or more. You've made every excuse to try and keep us out. He's like, we had
all valid points.
We had a 1-point win over a conference opponent, and you're going to hold us against, and it's like, we lose to South Carolina, you drop us to 20 in the poll. He's like, these guys lose to South Carolina, it's every excuse to get them in.
Right.
I think he has some valid points. I think Clemson did play a fairly soft schedule. Not their fault. They did schedule Texas A&M from the SEC. It's not their fault that Texas A&M didn't stand up in any of those games that they had. They certainly had a lot of chances this season. They certainly get credited on everybody else's win list that's in the playoff. We can only hope that LSU can jump Ohio State in the standings with a win over Georgia, and I think they would be entitled and every bit justified to do that. And then we might get a nice number again on Clemson against Ohio State and really be able to, let's just say, pay off our mortgage, because that should be an easy winner. I don't see Ohio State in the same category as Clemson, and they never have been in the last 5 years, and they never will be. The last time they faced, it was 26-0 Clemson, and I don't see one thing that would change from that game to this game, except maybe Lawrence has a little bit of a stronger arm than Deshaun Watson did when he did that number on Ohio State in that year. But I don't know. I think that I mean, you look at the matchups all the way around, and I just don't see how Ohio State could even stay on the field with Clemson. I could see Clemson running circles around them.
Kind of do too.
It's like it's not going to be a close game. And it's like Ohio State will be favored. They will be favored. It will be like something ridiculous, like 4 points. We'll be able to get like plus 165 on the money line. So people say, I haven't really been to Vegas much this college football season, but trust me, if it's Ohio State Clemson, we'll have a month to bet that game. I will make a trip to Vegas between now and then, just to dump, on that. It's that kind of matchup, and I think Swinney's got some good points there. I think on the other side of it, I think that it's going to take a reestablishing of the playoff system to make teams play stronger out of conference schedules and not schedule. You look at Ohio State's out of conference, and it's no better than anybody else's. I mean, Miami of Ohio, they played Cincinnati. Ohio U, I think.
Taking care of all the local colleges in
Yeah,
Ohio,
nothing
but it's
there
not
though.
going to help them, strength of schedule wise.
Cincinnati helps them strength of schedule at
I'll
10-2
bet.
and makes it
Sure.
to the championship game. But that game, of course, was in Columbus. I don't know. I just think that even Michigan played Notre Dame. It's like you can't really Notre Dame. Counts as it's an out of conference. So I mean, I don't know. I don't see it. And Alabama. You look at their out of conference this year. It was terrible. And I mean, Nick Saban threw a fit yesterday about that penalty, but it was a penalty all the way. And your team was in that position. I think that Mac Jones did a great job at quarterback yesterday for Alabama. I think Waddle. People say, "Oh, this guy never got enough credit or anything like that." Let's be realistic here. This guy gets the single coverage because the other guy is like, if you go single coverage on Judy, it's game over. You cannot win.
Poison. That's poison.
Yeah, you cannot win. If you go single coverage on Jerry Jeudy, when Jerry Jeudy signed with Alabama, it was just one of those things. It's like, how does this guy, and I still say it, how does Jerry Jeudy end up at Alabama? It's like, it doesn't even make any sense, It's like on any level. But he's a top 5 NFL pick, Jerry Jeudy. And, I know when he visited Miami, and they did the Jerry Jeudy running out of the tunnel, they do it with all the Miami recruits, and they announce it with the smoke, and they run out, and, man, it was. I was just hoping it was gonna happen. It was like, I know it was between Miami and Alabama at the end for him, and he took Alabama, and I don't blame him, to play for national championships and all that. But either way, he would have cashed. I think he would have had a good time in Miami too. But anyways, we got a full card of NFL football. We didn't talk NFL this week, and I think the college football championship games, of all of them, Baylor, Oklahoma, to me, looks the most interesting because of the last game, because it was close.
Rematch.
And Baylor has looked great since. It's not like they just laid down and licked their wounds. Also, you got to think that Utah and Oregon is going to be a doozy as well. That one on Friday night, and you have to think that Utah, if they win that game, I'm going to guess they're all in on LSU in that SEC championship game because
you better believe it.
LSU wins and Utah
give credit
wins.
to Utah. They took care of business, try to make a statement and stay, relevant within the discussion. And, they win the Pac-12 championship game and, they got an argument,
I think they have a big argument, and I think they have a legitimate shot. I think they have a puncher's chance against any of those teams that are in there. We've seen Kyle Whittingham teams coached up and beat SEC teams in the past, so it's like it wouldn't be all that big of a reach if they not even knocked out LSU. I mean, they have a defense that can do it. LSU has great receivers. I think USC, the team that beat Utah, has better receivers than LSU this year, and even without Jerry Jeudy, they still do it, but. Man, still, it's amazing that here we are. This regular season's already over, and there's still a lot of discussion here. And if they opened it up to 8 teams, right, or 16 teams, how would they figure out how to get Alabama in there after yesterday's game, right? That would really be the discussion here, right? Even though Florida, same record as Alabama, their losses, it's pretty much the same. Well, they have the win. They have the win over Auburn. Right, they have the win, the loss to LSU, the loss to Georgia, who are playing in the championship game, and then they lost to both teams that are in the championship game. Are there only 2 losses of the season? Well, Alabama's got the 1 loss to LSU, and then the loss to Auburn, who Florida beat. I think you would have to give it to Florida, but they would still find a way to put Alabama in, or both. Right? That's
likely.
Yeah. Well, then you would have. The thing is, if there was 8. You would have to have, even if Georgia lost, they would be in. So it would be 5 schools and 4 SEC teams. Is the way that that they see this. So, if you went the conference champions, the 5 conference champions and 3 at-larges, which is what it should be. You'd have to have one of the at-larges from the other conferences. Boise or Memphis. I mean, that team would get shellacked. I would believe in this year's playoff. In a group of 8, they would get killed. In a group of 4, they would get really killed. In a group of 16, they might be somewhat competitive if they can hit one of those number 6 teams. Maybe in Oregon, Memphis, or something. Which would actually be a good game. But
that's for down the road until they make the adjustments. But
I think what's interesting also, when we look at the upcoming bowls, is that and I know we're running into our NFL time, but we'll get into it in just a second, I promise. Is that Notre Dame under Brian Kelly, and I bash him all the time, right, in the big games, is that outside of the playoff games, you get him into the regular bowl games, he's actually pretty good, and it's like, they beat LSU in the bowl game, a couple of years ago, and you get them outside of that playoff where they get shellacked, right? They get rung up.
Shellacked.
Well, they drew the last, the memorable ones. They drew Alabama for the national championship game, and the Heisman winner, and then they drew an AJ McCarron and Amari Cooper, and a defense that's basically the NFL All-Pro team right now, and then they draw Clemson, with there's nothing pretty about that, it's like it's they just don't have the team to stack up there. But in the regular bowl games, they seem to do it, and it also will be interesting to see what players don't play in the regular bowls, because Nick Saban and his wisdom, right, last year when he was in the playoff, right, and he's all of a sudden the smartest man on the face of the earth, less the Dos Equis, right? He eats those oatmeal cream pie, right, for breakfast, 2 of those things every morning with his coffee, right? Everyone knows this. But interesting to see what he says now about expanding the playoff when it's his players that are sitting out. And he says, yeah, these players, they it would cause more, if you expand the players, more players would sit out because it's more games for them. No. Players, if it's meaningful games, they're going to play. I mean, no one's ever sat out a playoff game because they're going. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. But now it's going to be his players. See if Jerry Jeudy and Waddle and are going to play in the postseason game. It's going to be interesting to see, what Nick Saban feels about it then. And I'm going to guess he's going to all of a sudden change his tune and think something different of it. But we know how he works. Anyways, let's get to the questions. We got a lot of people joining us this morning. Thanks to everyone joining us. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Over 58% of the people that watch our show don't subscribe to my channel. Which I appreciate everyone that visits us and does all that stuff. But that subscribe, it helps. You can sign up for notifications on the subscription where you get notified every time I go live, which is half times and everything else. Or you can just subscribe to the channel to help us, our vanity numbers, as one of my advisors calls them. Is the Bengals Jets a trap game?
It very well could be. I mean, again, I'm in the backyard of the New York Jets. The Jets have won 3 in a row. Bengals winless. Andy Dalton back for the Bengals. You would think the Jets are the better team here, although the Jets really aren't a very good team overall, but they're better than the Bengals. However, I think I'm taking the Bengals here to get their first win. So I'm going to say, yeah, this is a trap game for the Jets. They've won 3 in a row. Like I said, we'll see what happens, but I'm going to go with the Bengals.
I don't think so. The Bengals stink. They've had so many opportunities against bad teams.
The Jets aren't all that much better.
The Jets have shown that they can mop the floor with bad teams, and you have to remember, coming into this season, the Jets are a team that a lot of people picked to make the playoffs this year. They certainly have the talent on that roster just because they have maybe, it's like they could just take, if they really want to just carry this thing to a whole nother level. I mean, when you look at the Jets head coaches outside of Rex Ryan, I mean, Todd Bowles and Rex Ryan are great defensive minds. Some of the best that there's, in the last 25 years of the NFL. They're in that, maybe the top 10 of they're not at 1 or 2, but they're in the top 10. Bowles is probably, as a straight defensive coordinator, maybe a little bit higher. Marvin Jones is in that list with, Belichick obviously number 1, and you have a few guys in that list, Rivera. But, when you look at the Jets coaches, if you put Tom Allen, Jim Harbaugh, or, any of these other guys that I bash the crap out of every Saturday in there for Andrew Gase, it's the same thing. I mean, you have one of the worst coaches in the entire NFL. I mean, if not the worst coach in the entire NFL. This is the guy that, has the Dolphins in this scenario where they are. Just because he's not coaching them this year doesn't mean that this isn't what he left behind. When you bring in Brock Osweiler and Jay Cutler, you have pretty much said you have no idea how to evaluate talent at the NFL level. I mean, I just don't even know what to say. But at the same time, the talent level at the NFL that McKagan brought in before he left for this Jets team, they have the pieces to beat the bad teams without anything. And that's, what you have here. What we have is the sharps all over the Bengals is what you have in this game. And the sharps, around this time of year, you have to remember also, they get crushed. I mean, we've seen them crushed on the Cleveland Browns, a few years in a row. We've seen them crushed on these things. This seems to be another one of those things where the sharps jumping on the bad team. Oh, the square money is going against the Bengals. But you have to also remember that the sharps, when they bet, they're betting on a number. And at this point, that number has come and gone, okay? The sharps, they don't look at Jets, Bengals. They have their sheets, power rankings, all these other numbers that they're using. And then they have a number. And it's like if you're on one side of the number, they bet this way. If you're on this side of the number, they bet the other way. And if you're way on this side, then they have the big bets. If you're way on this side, they have the big bets. But that number, by the time you see it, it's like the stock market. And if anyone follows the stock market at all, it never follows the stock market. There's an old thing they say in the stock market, and I have a bunch of stock market because I used to work in the stock market. Buy the rumor, sell the news. And that's what I say here about this one.
You know what? You convinced me. I'm taking my pick back. I am. I'm going to go with the Jets here.
How come my wife never gets talked into this stuff?
But, I'm open. I'm fair here. I'm going to go with the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals are 0-5 at home, 0-5 against the number. The Jets are only 1-4 on the road, and that really is the thing
but
here.
The word
trap. Last week.
The Bengals going to go 0-16? I mean, if they very well could at this point, right?
Well,
join the Lions, the Rod Marinelli fame.
I think the Bengals, if they get another shot at the Browns, that would be their spot. That would be their spot. Would be the Browns.
It would be nice if they beat the Browns.
Well, that's the game that they would do it. Ravens versus
So I'm definitely going Jets.
Ravens versus 49ers. Both these teams, big seasons. 49ers kind of played Clemson's schedule the first half of the season. Played really not a lot of good teams in there, but they won them all. So very, very hard to say anything about them. And then losing to the Seahawks and then coming back last week and beating up a Packers team that, in all fairness, doesn't quite have the defense that the Ravens has and doesn't quite have the running game that the Ravens have. And they don't have the depth, that the Ravens have either.
They really smoked the Packers. It wasn't like that.
But you have to. But the thing is that the Packers are a team where the quarterback makes,
all the
40% plus of the money on the entire roster. So when the left tackle goes out of the game, they don't have a backup to put in for them. While the Ravens and the Seahawks and the Patriots and teams like that are more spread across. When your quarterback was the 26th, 27th, 28th, 30th, 32nd player taken in the draft, as opposed to Aaron Rodgers, who, as great of a player as he is and as bad of a man as he is, as Stephen A. Smith says, or any of that stuff, he's not exactly the team player when it comes to negotiating the salary like Tom Brady is. And that's why he doesn't have more championships. I mean, it really is that simple.
You're right.
Like, if you can't afford to keep Clinton Dix and you have a defense that's that bad, you have problems there. But the 49ers here are facing a team that is a little different scenario. A lot of players, some guys, you got some retreads along with, Ozzie, so you still have Ozzie Newsome's team, that he built there. And, as good of a tight end as Ozzie Newsome is, I think he was an even better general manager, which is crazy.
Yeah, he did a great job.
He could be. He's an all-timer, when you look at it. 2 Super Bowls, really. This is the same as Bobby Beathard. He's really in that same category as Bobby Beathard. He really is.
But getting back to today's game, the Niners got to come to Baltimore. The weather is not good. It looks like, here, even in New York, I got to think Baltimore, it's going to be wet, rain, snow type of conditions. So the Niners are really not conducive for that. You got the Lamar Jackson factor. The Ravens are playing really good football. I love the Ravens here today.
And there's nothing wrong with them here, but I think I'm going to go with the over. I think the defenses get hung out to dry in this one.
It's probably the best game on the slate here, obviously.
So far, on paper, it's the best game of the year.
On paper,
it's the best game of the year. It's the, best. At this point in the season, it's you go to that Seattle-San Francisco game, and then this one, and those are probably the 2 best games. And the Ravens-Patriots, right? Which the Ravens at home won.
Right. Again, the Dolphins-Redskins a few weeks ago, that was a really classic.
And the Dolphins-Jets. Dolphins beat the Jets.
So, I like the Ravens here by a touchdown.
Any serious movements that you notice on the NFL card? I think we're still seeing, some movement here on the Bucs, Packers. It's like some of these lines, and also the Cardinals. Big money on the Cardinals. Inverse line movement. So it's big money. Not a lot of bets on the Cardinals. I have another one that I like that I'll talk about later on when we get to the question that I didn't put as a premium pick. Morning. You got to give Team A versus Team B with the point spread. Who are they playing?
Leagues.
For everybody. It's for everybody. Mitch, what about that Ohio State win over Michigan? Hey, congratulations. Michigan had, when I talked to at halftime of that game, Michigan had the drop in the end zone for the touchdown. Okay, they had the fumble inside the 30-yard line in that game in the first half, and they had the 4th down, which was the big play of the game, where they were offsides on the punt, and Ohio State ended up scoring a touchdown on 2 plays later. They wrote their
right.
That was it.
After that, basically,
I thought at halftime that if Michigan could rally in the second half early and stop Ohio State right out of the gate for 3 and out after the kickoff, that they would be right back in the game if they could come back and score a touchdown. They weren't able to score the touchdown there. They did stop them, but they were unable to score the touchdown. And then when Ohio State came back and scored, it's like you can't have Shea Patterson dropping back to pass when they know you're going to pass every single down.
And you thought he couldn't really complete passes at that point. He was, guys couldn't hold on for Michigan. It really snowballed after that. And
I say the same things over and over again. I know I'm a repeater, but I just think that when a football game goes over 10 points. When it goes over 10 points and it gets past midway through the second quarter, into the third quarter, the strategy changes. It's like no longer do you have the balance anymore. No longer do you have that jet sweep, right? How about that sweep by Auburn, by the way? Man?
Completely alters the game plan at that point.
Was that sweep by Auburn at the goal line? That was the fake 23 blast with the
standard
with the backside Georgia reverse, like your life depends on it. He ran the guy over and his helmet went flying through the air. He hit him so hard. That was the backside Georgia reverse, like you read about.
The intensity of that rivalry right there, no doubt.
But it takes those plays out of the game. when you're down by that many points. And I think, that's what happened. I think it'll be interesting to see, like I said, what the line is if it's Ohio State Clemson in the first round, which I think it will be. I think if LSU beats Georgia, it's going to be Ohio State. It's going to be Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, probably Utah if Utah beats Oregon. If not, it's going to be if Georgia wins, then it could be LSU Georgia rematch right away, and Ohio State Clemson again also. I mean, it'll be because it's like, will they move a one-loss LSU team? Well, maybe it would be Clemson, Georgia, LSU, Ohio State in the first round if that happened. I don't know what it would be. It'd be interesting because the committee doesn't really make any sense here, right? They make no sense whatsoever, and they don't watch the games, so it makes it really hard for me to listen to these idiots talk about the eye test when they don't watch the games. It's like it's crystal clear they don't watch the games. It's like it's crystal. I mean, did you not see the South Carolina-Georgia game? It wasn't a close game. I mean, yeah, it went to overtime and all that stuff, but South Carolina pretty much handled them. I mean, between the head, and I also think that, when they talk about the eye test and the magnitude of the loss and all that other stuff like that, I think there's a huge difference in college football between losing at home and losing on the road. Like yesterday, my Canes lost at Duke. I knew they were probably in trouble. I figured they would win and cover the spread, but not cover the spread. But I mean, to lose outright. But to me, as a Canes fan, as bad as these losses have been this year, that's way more forgivable to lose that game than if we lost at home to Duke. That would have been really bad, But I don't know. I just don't. I think that I think that Michigan maybe has some serious soul searching to do as to what the direction of this program is going to be. And I think that, as much as they love their defensive coordinator, I think that he might be part of the problem here as well, because they get a lot of top name recruits, but they had no answers when Dobbins is pushing your defensive line back 5 yards. I know Steve likes Dobbins. I'm not as sold on him, but when your offensive line is pushing the defensive lineman 5 yards back, very hard to stop anybody.
That was going to be one of my points about why Ohio State won. You could just see the dominance of the offensive
line. In the trenches. Yeah. Blocking and tackling 99% of football games.
That's pretty much accurate.
The team that blocks and tackles the best, usually wins.
Typically wins.
And I thought the one thing about Dobbins that I did see yesterday that, we've seen from him in the past was that his ability to straight cut up the field, like once he has like sort of like Le'Veon Bell where he has like that vision and then he cuts up. They compare him to Emmitt Smith. I don't see that.
Let's not get crazy.
Let's not get carried away. Talk to me in 15 years. Talk to me in 15 years. But congratulations to the Buckeyes on their win, and I think it'll be interesting to see them play Clemson or LSU or even Georgia or even Utah. I think it'll be interesting.
So we're a month out from that, but we'll see how that pans out with the seedings.
Carolina 3-9 against a team with a losing record. Team A versus Team B with the point spread, please. Morning. Carolina versus Washington plus 10.5. I looked at this game up and down. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I've been looking at it too. I definitely like Carolina at home. I think McCaffrey has a good day. Again, Haskins is a deer in the headlights. The Redskins obviously got a win last week. 11 points. It's a little too much for my liking, but I think Carolina comes back. They've been not playing really good football over the last couple weeks, but they're the better team. I think defensively for the Panthers, Haskins will have a deer in the headlight thing, and I'll take the Panthers. So
I'm going to take the Redskins in the points. I really don't like Haskins. I think that he's a guy that the jury's going to be out on for a while. He could have used another year of college. And
he most certainly could. And you're seeing it on the field now.
I got a long list of quarterbacks where that fits. I think quarterback's not a position where you leave early unless you're like Lawrence.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah, well, he didn't leave early either.
I know, but you know what I mean.
But like Trevor Lawrence, I think
you got to be cerebral enough that you can translate. That's my only point. They all got the physical tools for the most part, but it's the ability to process the information at a young age like that, and quickly. I mean, and we can see Haskins is not doing that as efficiently as you would anticipate him to.
Well, we see at the college level, Tua, is my guy that I always point to, against UTSA and Western Carolina. Yeah, he could scramble around in the pocket all day and find his wide open receivers. But when he's playing against the LSUs or a team that really has a pass rush, even Mississippi State's, right, of the world, and Ole Miss, it's like he doesn't have it that time that he has, and he gets hit a lot more. And in the NFL, you see it even more. And I'm actually surprised that Kyler Murray is this good, and it just shows how fast he is. It's like, and Russell Wilson gets hit. He gets really hit.
I mean, you mentioned Kyler Murray. We're just talking about Haskins. Kyler Murray's got 14 touchdown passes and only 5 picks, and has rushed for, I think over 400, maybe 500 yards at this point. I don't care that he was the number 1 overall pick. Dwayne Haskins was in discussion as a top 10 pick and essentially went at 12, but, there was talk to Giants at 6. Look at the difference of processing that information, That's a perfect example.
Yeah, I just think that also Kyler Murray was, he was around in college for a long time. He played at 2 different programs. He also played with a lot of good college quarterbacks. His teammates.
He waited his turn and saw it.
Ironically, teammates with Kyle Allen, who was starting for the Panthers. He was teammates with him at Texas A&M. Yeah. But I like the Redskins here. I think the Redskins, the defense has kept them in games. They've been fairly competitive in most spots.
Brian Kerrigan, I think, is missing his first career game today. So
he's a Mitch guy. I love
I love Brian Kerrigan from Purdue.
Motor guys. I always like the motor guys.
He's no Mike Mamula.
He's a motor guy, and there's a lot of good motor guys out there. Calais Campbell is a motor guy.
You love Calais.
He's one of my favorite players.
I know he is. I
mention him every show. But anyways, Carolina's lost 4 of their last 5 games.
That's right. That's why I think they have a breakout game.
They scored 31 against the Saints last week, but it was 3 against the Falcons, 16 against that porous Packers defense, 30 against the Titans when they did manage to win, and just 13-51 against the Niners, kind of like that Packers-Niners game. But the Redskins, they've been holding teams reasonably low. Outside of the high-flying New York Jets, they've allowed 16 points to the Lions, 24 to the Bills, 19 to the Vikings, 9 to the 49ers. That was in the monsoon. That was really one of the best. I talk about rain on a lot of the shows. People ask about the rain a lot. That was one game with rain really wasn't. That was the one where, like, does the rain? I always think the rain and weather always favors the offense because the guys know where they're going. And it's like if you have a big offensive line and defensive linemen that aren't sure what's going to happen, they can push them around. But and receivers too, they know they're going to cut. And
they got the advantage.
It's a different thing, but that rain was definitely a defensive rain. I like the way that they hammered Garoppolo after that game and blamed it on it. Like he was miserable. It was like he couldn't see 2 feet in front of his face, and it's like I've seen way worse performances by quarterbacks than that, But that was like Tom Cruise, all the right moves type weather, It was like.
Affected the riflemen and all the right moves a little bit. You know what? I played against the riflemen in high school, actually. Walter Briggs was the quarterback for Hackensack High School. I was the quarterback for St. Joe's, Montvale. And as it turns out, Walter was cast as the rifleman in all the right moves.
Where did he get his
scholarship? Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation there. And then Walter played at Montclair State University in New Jersey here, and an alum that you would remember from your Miami Dolphin days was Mark Casale. I don't know if you remember that name. He was a backup quarterback under Marino in the early, mid '80s or so. Cup of coffee. So that's for another day.
We got the Eagles up against the Dolphins. Speaking of the Dolphins, there was a nice bump that they got there. They got off the snide. They got a couple wins.
Yep.
Eagles 5-6, but not out of it in that NFC East.
With the Dallas Cowboys, keep letting them back in the equation.
Eagles just 2-3 on the road and 2-3 against the number. The Dolphins, of course, a miserable 1-5 at home, 2-4 against the number, 2-9 for the Dolphins, but 5-5 against the spread in the last 10 games. The Eagles 4-6 and 4-6 against the number. I've been kind of positive on the Dolphins, and I like what's going on there. And maybe I see it through rose-colored glasses, but I like to break it down, build it back up. I understand it. It's like with certain teams, like I just don't understand what they're doing. I have no idea. I don't even understand what they're getting at. But the Dolphins are going with the classic, break it all the way down, the process, the Philadelphia 76ers, the process. Break it all the way down. Dallas Cowboys under Jimmy, right? Break it all the way down. All the way down.
All the way down.
Everybody. Just everybody. Get whatever you can for whoever you can. It doesn't matter. You can't fire everybody.
Fire sale.
You can't fire the team, but you can fire the coach. Oh no, you can fire the team, and that is what the Dolphins are doing. They're firing the team. And they have gotten rid of almost everybody. They figured, well, we got a couple guys that actually can play. We got a cornerback. Those are hard to come by, right? We'll get one of those. We'll keep one of those, okay? So when they say, oh, you got rid of it, we kept this guy. They've also picked up and brought in some guys that, maybe have some talent and maybe just weren't in the right place. And that happens too. Nikem Diche, guys like that who, hey, if Josh Rosen, if it hits, it's a home run. If it misses, who cares, right? Who cares? We got 35 draft choices next year, and that's what the Dolphins have done. They have people keep talking about like, well, they're going to draft high with their own pick. They also got everybody else's first round pick, so they got a lot of ballots, and they got a lot of shots here in the first round, plenty. Yeah. And they have a lot of shots in the second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round. They have a lot of picks coming up, a lot of picks. And, a lot of salary to work with in free agency. So they're going to draft all these guys, is what they're going to do, hopefully hit on a lot of them. And then in 2 years, we'll see them hit the free agent market really hard because they're going to be paying mostly rookie salaries out there.
Yep.
And they'll have all these gaps in there to pay 5-6 big-time free agents to come fill in those holes, and they'll at least have a shot at a Super Bowl. And then, of course, they'll have to break it down and build it back up again. Kind of what the Marlins did that year, that Charles Johnson, and they had, the guy that pees on his hands when he gets blisters, like Moises Alou. They had,
Beckett and everybody at that point.
It's funny that Moises Alou, he's the guy in the Bartman play, and he's also, has had a pretty solid major league career, but the one thing that that pops into my head when I think about him is the guy that pees on his hands when he gets blisters, right? It's like
whatever works.
I mean, is that not something that you can just can never forget? It's one of those things that it's like if you ever met him in person, it'd be the first thing. It'd be like, you're still pissing on your hands.
It's a good opening line of the.
I like the A-Rod show that he does now with all the guys that kind of fizzled out and tried to rebuild their finances. I really love that show. But I'll tell you what, I like the Eagles in this game against the Dolphins. The Eagles actually, as much as I bash Carson Wentz,
right,
they have a lot of talented players on this team, and they are 2 years removed from the Super Bowl, and they still have a good amount of those players on their team. they have way more good players than the Dolphins do, and the Eagles just have the physical, what it takes to beat up on a bad team like this. The Eagles, they're not going to beat the Patriots, the Ravens, or the 49ers anytime soon, but they will beat up on someone like this because, like, a guy like Brent Selleck against the Dolphins defense, it's basically, you could just throw it to him 15 times,
Yeah. So how
about Baylor yesterday? It's like they showed the statistic, right, during the game, and of course Baylor was one of my top plays of the day yesterday, but, there's like showing this statistic, like they're like midway through the third quarter. Baylor is averaging 12.1 yards a play. It's like, that's not going to get it done defensively. It's like, if your opponent's averaging 12 yards a play, that's like first down every play. It's like, but anyways, I could see the Eagles doing something like that in this game here against the Dolphins, about averaging about 8 to 9 yards a pop when all is said and done. By the way, Clemson, for all the things that I say about Trevor Lawrence and everybody else in the 31-point margin of victory over the last 8 games, they also haven't let an opponent gain more than 300 yards in a game in their last 10. But that's a different subject. But in this one, I really like the Eagles, and I think this could be a 42-3 type game.
Yeah, again, I mean, I'd like the Eagles by definitely at least 2 touchdowns here. I'd be more than confident on this one.
Yeah, I think the Eagles could win. The more I look at it, the more I like it.
What else we got?
Jacksonville versus Indianapolis, total points. You got to tell us what the points are if you want to ask a question. Colts +1 versus Titans. It's one or the other. Steve, which one you want to do? The total, or you want to do the game?
Total.
Yeah. All right. I like the under.
Me too.
I think that one's pretty easy.
Yep.
2 teams. Mac has been out since Mac went out for the Colts. He was a nice find, but since he's gone out, they haven't been good. Ryan Tannehill's definitely ignited the Titans offense.
Elton's still banged up, I think. Even if he's playing or not, he's still.
It's just these AFC South games. They're 12-9 games. That's what they are, and I think that's what you have here. So I'll go under in Colts.
I'll go under.
I looked at this one for a premium pick, to be honest with you. I like the under in this one. I'm still haven't given a premium pick or pick on tonight's game. And I will do that. If you're a premium member, be on the lookout for it. Eagles, Dolphins. I love the Eagles in this one. Everyone always says, when they can always tell which games I really like when my voice gets all excited. I love Clemson over Ohio State. Love Clemson. I want a good NBA combo with about 3 teams to pick. I have 3 NBA premium picks today, so you can go check that out. I don't understand when people don't ask the question. Exactly. I love this. This is what I always say when people say, I need 7 teams for my parlay. I stop at 7. 49ers, Ravens, over under 45.5. I said over already in this one. Steve, you think it's an over or an under? You got a lot of good defensive players here.
Yeah. I think because of the weather, I might go with the under here.
I like the over still. I think after seeing 93 points in the Auburn-Alabama game, I don't think I'm ever going to take the under again. And when I think
I'm going to go under 49ers Ravens.
You think that was the offensive game plans in that game, or just and the whole thing was that we saw some great defensive plays in the game, which makes it even crazier.
That's what makes it crazy. But
so if my Dolphins take that number 5 from Auburn with that one of those top picks up there instead of a quarterback, I'm not disappointed. I always think if you have a good defensive tackle, you need that to win championships. Good big defensive nose guard takes up 2-3 blockers. That really for the Miami Hurricane teams that we've had in the past. It was always the key, was having that guy, Cortez Kennedy,
Vince Wilfork,
Jerome Brown, Vince Wilfork, whatever. Whoever fit the bill, Russell Maryland.
What other games we got?
Mac is missing. All right, here it is. Tennessee -1 versus Indy. I knew we were going to get this question anyway. This line is as inverted, and maybe there was some value on Tennessee at some point, but I'm going to take the Colts at home here. I know that it's gone from the Colts -3 to +1, and it's Hilton and Mac and all that other stuff, but I still like the Colts. I don't know. I just can't get off them. I'm not betting this game. I know that.
I'm just taking the under.
Sticking to the under. See, I'm refusing to pick this game.
I am refusing.
Noel says the last time he had 6 teams and all 5 won, but the Clippers lost to the Spurs, so ruined my big bet. We could sit here and discuss bad beats. I could do a whole show. I came up with that whole thing about bad beats long before ESPN did. Talking about like bad beats. Oh my God! And not just in sports, just in life in general. It's like just bad beats. You ever been to an AA meeting and listened to a couple of those leads? It's like, you want to talk about some bad beats. They looked awful in that game. See, I don't understand what this means. Packers -7.5 against the Giants. I don't see that line anywhere.
Nah, last I saw was 6.
Yeah, I don't see 7.5 anywhere on that game, and I've never seen a 7.5 on that game. So,
but if we're going to talk this, I like the Packers here all day long. The weather is crappy here. The Giants have some injuries. Tate is out. Ingram's out. Obviously they're going to hand it to Barkley and see if he can, carry the load. But Aaron Rodgers against the, Giants secondary. They got some young kids back there. Peppers is out for the Giants. Not that he's Ronnie Lott or anything like that, but the Pack obviously getting beat up by the Niners. I think the Pack rebound, and I like the Packers here all the way.
So we have 157 people watching and 161 people watching and 54 thumbs up. Okay, what's wrong with this picture? If you guys can just hit the thumbs up, it would be greatly appreciated. I got my phone here for this time. So you see all the chat right there, and there's us. There's a little X right here, right? You click the X, and then right here it says thumbs up, 54. You can see how lousy that number is and how many people are watching, right? There's 160 people watching, and you can see 54. You just hit the thumbs up right like that. Bang, it turns blue. And then right here, it says on this side, live chat. You hit this. And look, it's right back to where it was. See that? It's that easy. Greatly appreciated.
Yep. Thank you.
Not asking. I don't know. People are like, "Oh man, you should set up donations and all that stuff." Screw that, man. Just hit the thumbs up. Cost you nothing. You don't even have to take out your credit card. You don't have to get out of your pajamas. If you guys have picks, you should put them in our Facebook group. Yep, we will do a fun 3-team parlay at the end of the show. Jets Bengals over under 42.5.
Oh, I would say the under here.
I like the over. That's me. I'm going to go over. I just think that the Bengals are going to have to open it up and
I'm doing a lot of unders today.
Yeah, it's that time of year. But I think we're maybe a week away from the real under time of the year. This is this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Is that around the NFL knows? Okay, the ratings have not been the best, right, for the last couple of years, but the NFL knows that in order that their golden child, their safety net is fantasy football, right? It's like when we were kids, my mother would go to the games, but she didn't know, like, because she was forced to go, but she didn't know any teams or any players or anything like that. Now it's like you walk into any office and, you walk into your dentist's office, then they find out what I do for a living, and, all of a sudden the receptionist is asking me for fantasy football advice on her team. And so the NFL generally, that's why we've seen all the rule changes over the last 20 years lean towards the offense. More fantasy points, more scoring equals more fantasy points, more people staying interested in these games, more people glued to the sets watching the games. In the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, the fantasy football season is over, and the refs take the flags and they keep them in their pockets. And what they say is they're letting them play. And we saw it yesterday in college football, but we see it a lot in the NFL those last few weeks of the season. There was a run where the wild card teams won the Super Bowl a bunch of years in a row. The Giants, the Ravens, the Packers, bunch of teams won it in a row. People are like, wow, man, the wild card teams were winning all the Super Bowls. Yeah, because those were the teams with the best defenses all along that lost those games on all those crappy calls against them. And then the last 3 weeks of the season, the refs put their flags in the pockets. The same thing with the postseason. And all of a sudden, they were a different team. All those teams, great defenses. Just a theory, but just a theory, but of course I'm going to treat it like it's fact.
Absolutely.
We did this game. This is a good one. The Jags versus Bucks. Two teams, I said this in my video, two teams excited that they don't have to go north of the state of Florida. It's like road trip. We don't have to go to, did you see the weather in Minnesota yesterday? In the Axe game? And I still, like I said on our show yesterday, you saw it during the Axe game as they were counting it down, the one guy holding everybody back, and as soon as the thing went, it was the mad dash to the Axe, and they're chopping down the goalpost. I was on the other side of it, but I still loved it. And the bucket was the same thing.
I lost that one too. We had Minnesota, but the Bucks Jags. This isn't a very sexy game at all. These are two disappointing teams. The fact that it's at Jacksonville. Just looking at Jameis Winston, my favorite quarterback of all time. He's got 22 touchdown passes, but more importantly, he's got 20 picks, which I think is obviously leads the league by far. The Jags not been playing very well, but they're home, and Tampa Bay is favored by 3 here. I think I got to go with the Jags at home.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bucks here. I know Steve hates Jameis Winston, but I actually just think that the Bucks are the better team in this game. I don't know.
They got to show up for work one of these weeks, and I'm going to say they show up this week against this Buck team.
I don't like the way the Jags are playing. Sorry about the graphics moving around the screen. I just had to move it because I had to put that one up with the Team A versus Team B with the point spread or total, because I know we have a lot of new viewers here, and if you have a question, that's the format. And the reason why, just like the one that's on the screen, the reason why we have the format is not because I'm a jerk, which I can be, all right? It happens. But the reason why we have that format is so anybody that's watching, they know exactly who's playing who. Not everybody has every game on the schedule in front of them. Not everybody has it in their head like I do, right? Not like you do or whatever. And the show isn't, for the one person that is asking the question. Everybody else cares. Why do you think everybody's hanging around? It's not to answer the question. We don't have, there's 188 people watching right now live. I don't have 188 questions in the queue. It's like everybody's interested. So if that's the whole reasoning behind it. I say it all the time, but I didn't put it up there. And Texans versus Pats -3. I do not have a premium pick on this game, but I think I'm going to on the total. So I will do one on the side here. I like the push. If you could bet the push, I like the push in this one. I think the Patriots can handle the Texans. I think the Patriots, they always seem to catch a break. I think the Patriots have played more teams with their starting quarterback out over the last 5 years than anybody. It just seems they always catch that break. But in this case, a team that's defensive heavy like the Texans, the injuries are starting to pile up. It's late in the season. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they don't have that downfield passing game, so blowing out teams just isn't happening for them. I'll tell you, if you can only win by a few points, last week against the Cowboys, no matter what the weather conditions were, and you score 17 against the Eagles and Philly, it's like there are some serious problems here with this Patriots team. They remember the game against the Ravens, so it's not just those two games. You go back another game, the Ravens, the only points they scored were off turnovers that were deep in the Ravens territory. There are some serious problems here in New England. This is not a Super Bowl team this year, and maybe they'll come together next month. I've been wrong on that before, but right now they're not a Super Bowl team. They're a playoff team, but they can't. It's kind of that whole Aaron Rodgers thing, and what we talked about with he takes all the money so he can't get the players, but every few years the Patriots know they don't have any wide receivers. They know it, right? They know it up, they know it down. If you look back at week 2, the Patriots wide receivers had Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon, and Antonio Brown. Not anymore.
Well.
And that is the problem here. They knew they had a problem. It's like, all right, we know we're bringing in this guy. We know he's going to be a problem. We know it's going to be a circus. But that's how desperate we are. And they did it. Then they did the same thing with, they did that with Gordon, and then they did it with Brown. And it was like they're willing to sell their souls that maybe with us it'll be a little bit different. And unfortunately, sometimes you lose, and they lost both those bets. And now it's a little late in the season to try and get somebody to try and fill in the gap. Philip Dorsett is a nice speed guy. He was a first-round pick. He's a combine guy, right? Even though he's a Cane, I hate combine guys, right? He's a combine guy, and I know he has no hands.
We talked about Sanu being a good pickup for them. I know he missed the last game, but I thought that trade made sense.
He's like an Edelman. He's not a Josh Gordon or Antonio Brown, or especially an Antonio Brown.
See, Sanu. I mean, he's not a little scat guy like Edelman. I think Sanu is a good target.
Right. No, he's a nice target. He's a possession guy, but he can't stretch a defense.
But my point is that's the best that they really have this late in the season, and that's what they're going to have to go with.
Dorsett is their stretch the defense guy. He's the 4-3 guy, but do you really want the game to come down to having to throw a deep ball to this guy who may or may not catch it? I mean,
everybody who's anti-New England certainly is not, shedding any tears over the state of the Patriots wide receivers right now. But the other factor for this game, I mean, the flu. It seems like, multiple players on the Patriots coming into this game have been sick with the flu during the week. And I think you got to throw that into the equation for this week, at least. They're going down to Houston, Texas. Pats are favored by 3 here. I think I might have to take the Texans here at home.
Yeah, it's a lean to the Texans, or like I said, in that push range. Maybe the Pats missed the field goal this week. I don't know. Yeah. It's like it's not a good spot for them. It's not a good spot.
The Patriots are most likely going to go 13-3, and this is a game where I can see them losing, and then they get healthy and make their push in a few weeks or into the playoffs. But I think I got to go with the Texans here. So
I'll go with the Texans too. Are the Eagles getting their wide receivers back? I don't think it matters.
Deshaun Jackson's still out for a little bit longer, I believe, even if he came back this week. He's a stretch the field guy, to the max. But I think the Eagles, we talked about this game already. We think they should win handily today, regardless of the injury status on the Eagles wide receivers. And to your point, they could hit Zach Ertz probably all day today and, shove it down the Dolphins' throats. So,
Rams taking on the Cardinals. The Rams have looked extremely bad. in their recent games. I mean,
And then, then back,
the
but
Sharps were.
back to the Pats game. The guy Colby made a good point. Nick Folk got appendicitis, and the Patriots cut him. So, so they have a new kicker. So that could very well play into today too.
I could see. I would like to have been at that a fly on the wall for that one.
Coach, my stomach's killing me.
Yeah, good story. He's got the little magnet board. Billy Bob Thornton, Friday Night Lights. He's got the big bucket. He lands right on top of Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon in the bucket. Oh, man. Rams -2.5 versus the Cardinals. This line has been all over the place. I still see it at 3, personally, but I mean, I already have a pick out on this game. Steve, you got a pick on this one?
Oh, God. This is a tough one for me.
The Rams have been so bad.
So bad. They really have. I've been trying to defend Jared Goff all year, but I'm done for this year at least. I mean, Christ, I think he's got more interceptions than touchdown passes. I think he's got like 12 picks, 11 touchdowns, or something very not worthy of a 4-year, $100+ million extension. That's for sure.
It's rare we talk about any other shows on this show, but how about like the guys from the Wager Talk show? I don't really watch their show, so I never really said. And Kelly is awesome. Like, she's one of the best out there. But I love when those guys, because they always think they're such insiders. And it's like, it's funny, right? I mean, how we're the inside guys or whatever. It's like, you're not, all right? We all know. All right, here. Let me just tell you a little something. You're not, okay? You might know the guy who runs the sports book, and you might know this guy, and you might know this guy. You're all great guys. I like Johnny. Detroit is I know him personally. I know a bunch of the other guys, and but you're not like this, guru of guru insiders and like, oh, the sharp money is all over the. It's like, yeah, your sharp money got run over by Lamar Jackson, who was wearing sunglasses at night. It was such an ass whipping. I think when you start hearing some of these guys talk about this sharp money, like over the top, it's comical. At a certain point. I mean, I understand sharp money, line movements, inverse line movement, all those different things. But that sharp money twice, and I mean, because the last time we've heard sharp money in Rams, it's been death, right? Last year's Super Bowl, when the sharp money, was all on the Rams, and then the same thing with last week against, whew, whew, whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyways.
It's a 3-point spread. You know what? I'm going to stick with the Rams, as freaking bad as they've been. The game is in Arizona. Because they got hosed by the Ravens. I think McVay gets them ready to play. I think defensively, Aaron Donald hopefully rallies the troops. Jalen Ramsey at corner, so they got to contain Kyler Murray. The fact of the matter is the Cardinals are only 3-7-1. I think their record is. I think the Rams and Gurley can win by a touchdown in the desert. So.
We're going to see what Sean McVay is made of this week.
That's kind of what the point is.
It really is. 6-5. They're not out of it yet, but they are.
They're on
one
the
more
cusp.
than they are. One
They're
more.
on the cusp.
They're one loss away. They got to win out at this
point. So I think that's why I'll take the Rams. I think the Rams, their season is on the line, really.
But you know me. I got massive inverse line movement in this game. Massive.
Yeah.
And we got a team that's reeling, and then we also have a team that's played well against the teams in the division in the Cardinals. And that, to me, always says something, too, that, I always think, when they're building the team, aside from that breaking it down and building it back up, and that is just today's NFL. It's not like the old days where the guys were on the team and they started with the team. and they ended their career with the team because they were basically prisoners, right, of the team. And I think the free agency has gone almost too far the other direction, where you have to start guys too early in their career. I think that's the other side of this problem here in the NFL. But I think that number one, you have to break it down and then time it all out so everybody's peaking at the same time, because you only get 1 or 2 years at it. Number two is you got to build your team to beat the teams in your division, because those are the 6 games that you're going to have to play no matter what. And it used to be 8 games that you played against your division. Now it's 6. And still, those are the 6 important games, because if you can hang 6 losses on the guys you got to beat to get to the playoffs, well, it's a good start, let's just say. And I think the Cardinals are somewhat doing that. I like the under 47 in this game.
I like the over.
I think this is 20-19. Good morning. Good morning. War Eagle. I know I've been on Auburn all year, and the Auburn fans, they've forgotten me. They've forgiven me for the writer that I had 8 years ago that I had to fire when he called Nick Fairley Chris Farley. Had to.
You're out.
I got like a slew of emails. I had to cut them loose. I was personally embarrassed by it. They're like, "You're better than that. You know college football. You're not like the other guys. You know better." And I did know better. Patriot Flu Bug, any thoughts hearing they took 2 different planes because of the flu?
They did, yeah.
Any chance that one of those planes also had employees of the Asia Orchids Day Spa on there? Can I, like,
That's a good one.
It's like, do I have $57 on me?
Is this enough?
It's like, this is like my no one ever uses cash anymore, but I play golf every day, so I always have like all my tip money, to tip everybody at the golf course. So I just have tons of they're all low it's not like a stack of 100. This is all low denominations. It's like, the person that checks you in at the thing, give them a couple bucks, the starter, of course, it's like everybody, the guy cutting the grass, hey, it's like oh man. Raiders Chiefs -11. Chiefs, I did dog of the day. I rarely say this on these shows. I took the Raiders. This is one of those ones where the dog of the day, the reason why the Raiders were the dog of the day, because the other team that I was going to do that I was thinking about doing as dog of the day, I was going to do as a premium pick, and I didn't do them as a premium pick. And when we get to that game, I'm going to tell you who that is. But I took the Raiders here. It's a rivalry game, and I know the Raiders have been terrible. The defense has been terrible. But I can see them rallying the troops, because these are 2 head coaches that actually understand the rivalry of these 2 teams. And I took the Raiders. I'm going to stick to it, even though if I had a chance to switch my dog of the day, I would switch it.
I'm going to take the Chiefs all the way here. I think the Raiders, to your point, their defense has not been good. I think Derek Carr obviously gets benched against the New York Jets last week. I don't like the Raiders receiving core. And if they can focus on stopping Josh Jacobs, defensively for the Chiefs, they stop Josh Jacobs. Pat Mahomes is still Pat Mahomes. And the Chiefs are home. Big rivalry game. I think the Chiefs are up for it. And I'll take the Chiefs by 2 touchdowns here.
So we have, let me see something. We recap at the end of the show. Steve, do you still like Joe Burrow to win the Heisman Trophy?
I absolutely do. I think Justin Fields at this point would probably come in second based on yesterday's performance. But I think it's Burrow all the way. I'm not
I don't know. Steve gets all the credit for his Heisman pick on Joe Burrow, but I'm the one who bet it, right? $10 pays 1,000. There it is. MJ.
Damn.
So, I don't know.
I'll take a finder's fee.
Yeah. This is, look at it, June 28th.
Very
I
good.
don't know. I have a gift.
I see dead people. I see dead people.
I see a guy who could throw the ball more than 6 yards accurately on a team that's loaded with some of the top NFL wide receivers to ever play the game. I don't know. I see a quarterback that can actually throw a straight pass on a team that got Jamarcus Russell to be the number 1 overall pick. The receivers are so good. I mean, that's how good the LSU receivers are.
Jamarcus Russell. But the fact that he's completing these passes at the high 70 clip is really, I think, pretty impressive, man. Pretty impressive.
All these people now picking Joe Burrow, but I'll tell you, I don't think any of you guys had him because he was 100 to 1 when I bet it. 100 to 1. It's worth $10. It's about $10 worth of bet right there. Should have put 20. It's like other people be like, man, I should have bet a lot more on that. Should have put $12 on it. It was not exactly your high percentage bet, but it was actually a better bet.
On June 28th, there's so many fans thinking about Joe Burrow. They never even heard of Joe Burrow for maybe 10 people.
I don't know. I still think that's pretty good. I still think that's pretty good.
You're going to get $1,000 in a couple weeks.
You don't see that one floating around the internet and any of these pick things or anything like that. This is it's not one of those.
No.
Okay. Can we get back to NFL? We did this game. Justin Fields. Not going to matter. He's got plenty of time to heal.
Yeah, okay.
Colts Titans, we did this one. Packers Giants. Yes, we talk about the games. Been on for over an hour. We've covered just about every game on the board except for one. The one that I said that I would like to switch my dog of the day. Brian Flores.
Yes, that is the coach of the Miami Dolphins, ex-New England.
I don't do NHL. If the Puck Dogs were here, they would help us, but there's only 3 NHL on the board, so I didn't have them on today. We gave them the day off. Randy, we did this one already. Over under the Packers Giants. Normally I don't do it, but Randy's been with us forever.
I would say the under. I don't see the Giants scoring a lot of points. I think Rodgers and Pack will, because of the weather again here today. I can see the under here.
I like it too. I think that the Packers offense in recent weeks, normally Rodgers bounces back from his bad performances and stuff, and we saw it. What, they had 14 yards in the first half last week. I think we usually see him bounce back from those. But this year, I haven't seen the bounce backs like I've seen in the past. I could see this one being kind of muddy, like a 20-4 game.
Yeah, I like the under.
Jets or Bengals, we did this game. It's Team A versus Team B with a point spread. You just can't. If I can make it, if you guys need it clearer, is there a way that I can make it? Memphis versus Timberwolves, 230 over under. I kind of like the over in this one, but Morant is out, right? He's week to week. He's not even day to day. He's week to week. He's my guy. He's our guy, right? He's going to be everybody's guy. We love this guy. Yeah, the Memphis Grizzlies, even with Morant, have the worst defense them and the Hawks. How about that Rockets-Hawks game? I gave out the Rockets as a premium pick yesterday, and I just been bashing that Hawks defense like no one's business. They score 158 on them. It was like during my halftime show, people were like, "Man, have you noticed that nice pick on the Rockets? The Hawks, they can't stop them at all." And it was like, I look up, it's 158. That's one that's like, my agent says to keep scoring. It's like, okay. I kind of like the under there with the Packers, though. And I like the over in this game, Minnesota Memphis. Any thoughts on this one and that Memphis defense?
Please.
The Timberwolves, though, most people that have seen my shows, I'm not saying everybody, most people that have seen my shows know that everybody has a team that, they say black, they say white, you say white, they say black. That's what Timberwolves for me, So it's been that. I bet $10K. Okay. On Joe Burrow, yeah, right. The line, I think it would have moved if you would. Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure when they announced him as the Heisman winner, they usually say how many bets there were on that, and you'll see it's going to be just a few $100. Rams -3. We did this one. We did this one. We did this one. We did this one. Did this one. All right. I think there's only one game on the board we didn't do. So we might as well
Browns Steelers.
Oh no, there's two we haven't done. Packers,
Chargers, Broncos, Browns, Steelers.
We did this. We did this. Hit subscribe and the thumbs up. Oh man, I'm way behind in my comments. Can we do it too? Yep, at the end of the show. If you do a Trixie bet, you would have won something. Okay. Happy Sunday. We did this game. We talk about the sickness going on. We did. Capital G and God, whether you're religious or not. Put my biggest bet on the Pats -3. No, you're not. No, you're not screwed. Got to say what the total or spread is. Here, turn this way. Man, should I make it bigger? I've struggled with this for a long time. I mean, nobody else does the free-for-all format. There, I make it bigger. Let's see if that helps. There. Okay, it's bigger now than the pick dogs, than the branding. Actually, I think I'm going to start putting the logo up there. That would be pretty cool, right? Let's see if I have it. Anyways, let's get to the next question while we're doing this. Whoa, did that come up on the screen? Well, that didn't really work out the way I hoped to. It came out a little large. I was hoping to be able to edit the size. It wouldn't let me do it. Let's see. There we go. Oop. A little live editing going on here.
Cool. You want to talk about the Browns and Steelers?
Sure.
It's about that. It's an interesting game. Mason Rudolph.
Team A versus Team B with the point spread, if you got a question. It's Team A versus Team B with the point spread. Man, how hard is this? It's like, all right. And then this is what everyone will say to me after about this. Your attitude stinks. It's like, I'm trying my best, It's like the reason why it's got to be Team A versus Team B with the point spread is so everybody watching the show knows exactly what we're talking about. It's not about just answering your question. I mean, there are people that have seen every one of my shows I've ever done and have never said one email. I've never made a comment in our Facebook group. I've never made a comment on a YouTube video. I've never asked a question. I've never sent an email. I've never done anything. So it's like we need to take everybody into consideration. Steve Browns versus Steelers, Mason Rudolph not playing.
Yep, I was just getting to that. Duck Hodges makes a start for the Steelers. The fact that Cleveland's coming into Pittsburgh, this is a black and blue division game. The Cleveland's favored by 2.5. I love that Micah Fitzpatrick has solidified the Pittsburgh secondary. I know they're banged up. I mean, Smith-Schuster's still banged up. James Conner's banged up. But I like Pittsburgh at home here, getting 2.5 from the Cleveland Browns. I just don't have any faith in Cleveland and Baker Mayfield right now.
I like the Steelers too. I know that the Browns have won, recently, trying to put it together, but it's going to be an ugly, ugly, ugly crowd in Pittsburgh today for this one. They love their Steelers, and they don't like it when people do mean things to them. I think they take their Steelers very, very seriously.
Very, very serious.
Very, very, very seriously. Bet you don't hear this album. What do you think is the worst bet of the day today? Oh, I know what it would be. San Jose State on the money line against UCLA in college hoops.
Ooh.
I would say that one. San Jose State, of course, lost by 48 to Arizona earlier this season. UCLA's lost 3 of their last 4. They were bludgeoned out here in Maui by BYU. They were beaten up pretty bad in that entire tournament. Their one win out here in Maui was against Chaminade. I think the Bud Bombers could take Chaminade. Anyways, it's definitely San Jose State on the money line against UCLA would be the worst bet on the board. I don't normally say 20-point favorite game or anything like that, but I think when you look at the college hoops games, that game, it's like UCLA hired Mick Cronin, for a reason, and that was to try and turn this program around, and I believe he will. He's not a great tournament coach. He's not going to outcoach any of the great coaches anytime soon. We've criticized him, especially point spreads, how he, just murders point spreads. But at the same time, he can build a winning team that's a tournament team every year. And I think that's a start for UCLA. I think that San Jose State could be one of the worst teams in the country when it comes to college hoops. And, I could see UCLA beating up on them pretty bad. So I would say San Jose State on the money line to beat UCLA outright would be a miserable bet, even if you were getting, 10-team parlay odds on it. Steve, you got a worse bet than that?
No, that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's like, I was an early adopter on Arizona, so I took advantage of those early lines, and then everybody figured it out. That Sean Miller's been on the phone, and it's like, the point spreads went through the roof, and they haven't covered since. But eventually, what will happen is when they have all those non-covers, then eventually we get our team back again, kind of like our Oakland A's that we have every year. It's like we get our team back. Vermont, Yale today, man. Two of our teams, right, are going at it. So yeah. That's a beauty. I also like that Harvard game against USC. How about that one? Because USC, they lost to Marquette and Temple. Harvard is kind of like the same thing all over again. It's like another Marquette, another Temple. It's like this is the type of team that beats USC this year. All right, here's the game that I was talking about. I love the Broncos here to get home as a home dog against the Chargers, and I wish I would have given this out as a dog of the day. The reason I didn't give it out as dog of the day is because I was going to give it out as a premium pick, and I didn't. I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit, that I didn't, but what the hell? I don't really care that much. I would rather, give out the pick. I love the Broncos against the Chargers. Phil Rivers, I always think that he has the great arm and he has all this stuff, but even I'm losing faith in him at this point. He's throwing too many interceptions. He throws too many interceptions, and they're bad interceptions. It's not like he doesn't throw interceptions that are kind of like he gets hit and the ball flops up in the air. He throws those, don't get me wrong. But he's throwing the interceptions into triple coverage, trying to thread the needle, and that doesn't work.
Typically down the middle of the field, too. I mean, it's really getting listen, Phillips Rivers has been a good quarterback, but to your point, he's really been the problem for the Chargers this year.
Constant,
Father time, I think, is starting to kick in. But to your point, the interceptions have been bad interceptions. Like bad ones. Why are you throwing it there? You know better than that.
That game.
So the Broncos at home too. I think I'll take this all day. The Broncos obviously having some quarterback issues. But I can see Phillip Lindsay getting some yards today, and the Broncos defense stepping up. And I love the Broncos at home too.
Yeah, it's like I that last ball that he threw in the last game when they had a chance to win.
Yeah,
it's like there was no reason to throw that pass. You had time to for another play. It wasn't like it was fourth down. It was no reason to do that against the Chiefs. There was no reason whatsoever to throw that pass.
He threw a really bad one that Tyrann Mathieu picked off, like in the middle of the field, too. That was another triple coverage example. So I'll take the Broncos here.
Yeah, I was going to make them the dog of the day. I have NBA videos on every single game out there on our YouTube channel. Every single game, every day, I do an NBA video on every game out there. So be sure to check those out on our YouTube channel. And no one has asked about the NBA games that people have asked about. We've given questions. It's question format. It's right here. I made it even bigger than it was. I assume we could just make the whole screen that.
I'd like to answer Trey about Phillip Rivers being in a Hall of Fame quarterback on national media. Never really seen it, honestly. Phillip Rivers is a compiler, okay? So at the end of the day, when he retires, he's going to have played nearly 20 years. He's going to have these off-the-chart numbers or Hall of Fame type numbers. Does that translate to being a Hall of Fame quarterback to the average football guy that knows his football? Not necessarily, but I think at the end of the day, because of the numbers that he'll compile, he'll be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be close. I think he's a Matthew Stafford. I think they're one and the same. A guy who has these big numbers, but it doesn't mean anything.
I know.
It's like, if Joe Montana doesn't have, the numbers, the big time quarterback numbers as far as completions and all that other stuff, and you never hear him in the discussion, he's the opposite, right?
Totally.
He's the opposite of that. And it's kind of like, you have guys that are winners and you have guys that, and you could say he didn't have the supporting cast and all of those things too. But, once again, another Chargers quarterback that was much better with Darren Sproles. It's easy to be a good quarterback when you have Darren Sproles on your team. That guy's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
That guy is a Hall of Famer. And I think that Tom Brady had a Sproles. It was, was the guy who retired a few years ago. I forget his name already. That's how much of the team he was, but he was like the guy there. 33, the running back from LSU. He was someone's brother.
On the Patriots?
Yeah.
I should know, top of my head.
This guy's a borderline Hall of Famer too.
From LSU.
Kevin
Falk.
Kevin Falk. Right, Marshall Falk's brother. Just some guy's brother. Something like that. LaSalle Villanova 4-2 on the season, losing to Baylor, who I love this year, right? I mean, everyone knows I like Baylor this year. I think that the big problem at Baylor is they got so many good players, it's hard to pick which five to put out on the court, which is a good problem to have, especially, it's only December now, long college basketball season. LaSalle, not a bad team at all, but I think that you're catching Villanova off a loss. Villanova is one of those teams that when they lose, you don't want to be on the other side of the next game, especially if it's in Philly like this one is. I'm going to go with Villanova here, laying the 17.5. I like LaSalle a lot, but I think that Villanova, and it's just a bad spot. It's one of those games where it's not anything, it's just a bad spot.
Now, Michelle has a question. Lamar Jackson rushing TD today, prop. I'd have no problem you doing that, Michelle. But I think it's time to recap because I got to get rolling. I got a commitment, plus the games are starting in half an hour.
All right, I'll just run through these really quickly. Wake Forest, Arizona. I have a video pick on this game. I do think that I think it has the total is a little tougher play, but you can check my video pick out on YouTube. I just shot it this morning right before this show. Yeah, okay. If you have picks, Tommy, you can post them in our Facebook group. I just don't even understand the comments. Upset of the day. Steve, do you have a parlay for everybody before we head out?
I love the Ravens to handle the 49ers. I love the Packers over the Giants and the points. And I like the under on the Titans and the Colts.
So say that again. Chiefs?
No, Ravens.
Uh-huh.
The Packers, And I like the under in the Titans-Colts game. That's my 3-team parlay.
I'll go with the Broncos, Eagles, and the Broncos, Eagles, and the Broncos, Eagles, Steelers for my 3-team parlay. Just going through these questions super quick. Rivers being Hall of Fame, Chargers. Let's see how it plays out. Lamar Jackson. Sorry, I got in late today. Did we talk about? Yes, we talked about just about everything. The show started an hour and a half ago. Cody,
it's going to be a record show for life.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel.
Please do.
Totally appreciate it. Of course, if you have picks, questions, anything like that, just be sure to join us in our Facebook group. I'm there all the time. Opener, Steve likes the Bengals, but I think we might have switched them.
I did. I switched back to the Jets.
Switched back to the Jets. I like the over in the Ravens-Niners game. Steve loves the Ravens. I like the Redskins. Steve's like the Panthers. We both like the Eagles. I tell you, I talk myself that's basically a premium pick for me. The under in the Colts-Titans game, we both like it. I like the Colts. Steve refuses to give a side there. He's saying under all day. I like the over 42 in the Bengals game. Steve likes the under. I like the Bucs. Steve likes the Jags. We both like the Texans tonight. And under, I like the under 47 in the Rams-Cards game. Steve likes the Rams. I like the Raiders. Steve likes the Chiefs. The under in the Packers-Giants game. The Steelers for both of us. The Broncos for both of us. Steve's 3-team parlay. The Ravens, the Packers, and the under in the Titans-Colts. I got the Broncos, the Eagles, and the Steelers as mine for the free picks. This is Mitch. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate all the comments. Appreciate all the thumbs up. Appreciate all the subscriptions. See you in the Facebook group. I'll see you at halftime of the early shows. Enjoy it. Steve, have a great day. Thanks for joining us. I know you're pressed for time, so double thanks.
Later, guys.
Later, everyone.
Thanks.